Boy, can you give it up? Oh, no. Love me. Rudeboy Randy Brown coming up this weekend, taking on the Oxfighter, Khaos Kalen Williams, a guy whose name I could not figure out when he made his UFC debut. But what I do know is he was able to rack off very quick wins over Alex Morono, where he's a plus 300 underdog. He beats Abdulrazak Al-Hassan. He picks up an L on his record, but we can just gloss over that because it's been 2 wins since that point in time. And for Khaos Williams, it is an interesting career because we've seen these adjustments since he's been in the UFC where he comes in, gets those big knockout wins, loses to Michel Pereira in a fight where both guys were technical and tentative.
Is that the Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos versus Muslim Salikov fight of his career? We all had such high hopes for that performance, and then they just stood there and looked at each other for 15 minutes.
Well, then Khaos has a really close fight against Matt Semmelsberger, wins that one by decision. You could have made an argument either way. And then he knocks out Miguel Baeza, and that's a thing that happens more often now, but it started really with Khaos getting the job done. So for Khaos Williams, he's coming into a fight against Randy Brown, who's rolling. And when Randy came into the UFC, it was really hard to tell what kind of a guy you were going to get. He was a Dana White's looking for a fight guy. You might completely forget that, but that's where he came from. And it's been a really interesting and impactful UFC career because I remember way back when he took on Matt Dwyer in the UFC debut. Matt Dwyer, fellow Canadian, UFC Moncton, Canadian. But realistically, he gets a win there, and then it's kind of off to the races. And I look at the losses, 1 to Mike Graves, 1 to Bilal Muhammad, 1 to Nico Price, 1 to Vicente Luque, and all of those losses you can somewhat understand. And with Randy Brown, what's the Achilles heel? He doesn't check leg kicks, and he has very thin legs, and they get kicked a lot. His wrestling defense isn't great, but it's not bad. And I'd say that's probably really it with him.
He holds his chin a little high. That is the one thing. This is my theory, and this is held true ever since I brought it up on the channel, so I can keep on saying it. Tall people make a mistake in sparring just by being tall. This is the problem. When you're taller than people in sparring, all I have to do is lean back. That's all you have to do. People aren't going to continue with their combinations because you're not trying to knock your opponent out in sparring.
Hopefully.
But you normally aren't trying to if you're with a sparring partner that you know. Like, it rarely happens. People don't get knocked out in sparring ever, really. Randy Brown leans back a lot, and he does leave his head wide open a lot in his fights. And he's one of these weird fighters, so you're right. He kind of looks good in all of his losses, but it does feel like there's always a tricky spot in all of his wins where you're like, it'd be nice if he didn't have to go through that adversity on his way to a win. So he is kind of a tricky fighter. This is the thing I'll say about Randy Brown, though. Athletically, he has every intangible you would want for a welterweight fighter. He's extremely physically strong, has really long arms, so he has great range, great reach, and he is a cerebral fighter. You're right. He is a great offensive grappler, does struggle a little bit with his own wrestling defense, but for the most part, when it's time to strike and when it's time to grapple, Randy Brown is really good with his ranges. It's just he does get caught quite a bit, and you bring up the level of competition that Randy Brown has had, not even close between these guys over the last few years, and it's kind of funny. We talk so much about Khaos Williams' level of competition coming into the UFC, how, listen, they're good wins, but they're over a lot of people he probably should have won. We can't really say that anymore, especially after the UFC run he's been able to have. He's proven me wrong more times than I can count at this point. It's been really nice to see because Williams can show you that, hey, do I have to be the most technical guy? No. If you have power like Khaos Williams has power, it erases a lot of your sins that you make throughout your fights. This is the weird thing about this fight, though. Just in my mind, I assume, Randy Brown, a way better grappler than Khaos Williams. Khaos himself is a decent wrestler, though, and that's why I am curious to see, can Williams keep this fight on the feet? Because I think his physical strength is going to help him keep it on the feet for at least a little while early on in the fight. I think Rudeboy is the better gas tank, and I do think that his experience against higher level fighters is going to help him a lot in this matchup, because you went through a couple of his opponents. Isn't this crazy? He went from fighting Bilal Muhammad to Mickey Gall. Like, those were back-to-back opponents for Randy Brown. That's a crazy difference between those two.
So if you go back and you look at it for Khaos Williams, for parity's sake, in 2018, he was 3-0 and he lost to a debuting Dan Yates. Dan Yates, who's 1-1 in his overall
Mr.
MMA
Genuine.
career. So 2018, very early on that year. Who was Randy Brown taking on at that point in time? Well, he beat Mickey Gall in November 2017, and then in July of 2018, he lost to Nico Price, the embarrassing Hammer Fists. off the bottom. So, again, you're taking on Gall, Price. After that, wins over Barberena, Alves, lost to Luque, beats Alex Oliveira with a crazy one-arm rear naked choke, and then beats Jared Gooden. Is he ex-MMA zone now? He's been around. Jared Gooden. I enjoy Jared Gooden fight. But Khaos Williams, again, he's proven it that he's more than just that. On the regional scene, he was a good wrestler, but again, I worry about it against Randy Brown because Randy Brown's jiu-jitsu is very, very good. So we look at the odds for this fight. Brown open to minus 125. He's a plus 111 underdog at this point. We look at it for Khaos Williams, open to plus 105. He is a minus 135 favorite. We have a look at the Tapology votes. Surprise to us as they are to you. I'm going to say over under 65% Khaos Williams.
I'll say over.
I'm going to say over. It is over. 694 total votes. Wow. 74% Williams. 87% by knockout. For the 26% that are Brown. 67% by decision. Matt, these guys are somebody that's been like high listening to the show. I just freaked them out and ruined their night by knocking on the shelf behind us. But, Matt, when we're looking at this one, these guys are knocking on the top 15. They're probably, in that 25 to 20 category, somewhere in there. There's a lot of names in that category, by the way. But who do you have?
More than 5, you'd say?
More than 5, more than 10. I have so many people in that top 25 to 20. But when we're looking at this fight, I mean, who are you picking here?
Khaos Williams, okay, if you've ever hit one of those punching machines, Khaos Williams has the record on the one that you've hit. I don't care where it is and what corner of the earth.
Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada, you bet.
Khaos Williams has set the record in all of them. Each and every one. No one's ever beat him before in them, and you cannot prove me otherwise. This is a weird fight, because again, if you stack up their skills, Randy Brown's the more skilled fighter, and normally I would pick the more skilled fighter, but I do feel like the combination of Williams' takedown defense and his power punching, he's gonna hit Randy Brown with a clean shot at one point, and this is what I meant when I talk about Randy Brown sometimes looks good in bad performances and bad in good performances. Against Nico Price, he looked pretty good early on in that fight. He out-wrestled Nico Price, like, he got to that top position, and then Nico Price had done something we had never seen before. Go back to the Alex Oliveira fight. I didn't love Randy Brown's fighting in the first 4 minutes or so of that round. I know he won by first round rear naked choke, so it's hard to take any negatives from that performance, but he ate a ton of leg kicks, and he ate some straight shots at range too, and Alex Oliveira can't really make you pay with those strikes. Khaos Williams certainly can, though, and I think that's why I'm going to side towards Khaos Williams for this fight, but we were talking about this before. This could have been on the Fight of the Night screen without a doubt.
Oh, 100%. Khaos Williams throws a lot of kicks, and he kind of plants on his left foot, throws the kick, and then resets. That's a huge opportunity for the longer fighter and Randy Brown to either take him down or to hit him. So for me, again, Randy Brown gets kicked quite a bit, gets kicked to his legs to where it's troubling. But again, I got to go with the more skilled guy over the power. And this is legendary power. This is like face-melting Johnny Hendricks in 2013 type of power that we're dealing with in this division.
What we're trying to say is you don't want to get hit clean by Khaos Williams.
No, I don't. I certainly don't. But I do not have him in this one. I've got Randy Brown based on all of the skills that we talked about earlier on. But again, the vaporizing power of Khaos Williams. How many adjectives can I add on to the power? We could be here all day. We're split on the pick. I'm going to go with the man representing Jamaica. He has multiple Airbnbs there. I heard that in an interview that he did with James Lynch not that long ago.
Hook us up, Randy Brown.
To learn that Randy Brown's not training at King's MMA for this fight. Matt's going with Khaos Williams. Let us know down below in the comment section who you have. It's a great fight at welterweight. And we have a giant main card coming up that you're not going to want to miss. Keep it locked in with Fight Night Picks. We always say, let's get into it.